Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video by yours truly. They have officially revealed the details on Black Swan's kit on paper. Of course, we're going to be going over it like we normally do with every character, and hopefully you guys have a better comprehension with regards to how Black Swan's kit is going to function. Take some of the stuff I say at face value. I don't have access to a closed beta, so I don't get to test these characters. I always decipher everything from on paper purely, and then we test them when they release. But I'm pretty sure my interpretation skills after covering Hoyoverse games for a couple years now, I think I know what I'm doing. Anyways, let's start off with the first one. First one's pretty easy. Basically, guys, it unlocks the ability for you to put more stacks on the enemy's head with her skill. So, and it's going to be correlating to the amount of dots they have on their head. So Wind Shear, Bleed, Burn, and Shock. Each of these debuffs respectively has a chance of inflicting one extra stack of Arcana. So when she uses her skill, she inflicts a stack of Arcana on all the enemies, with the understanding that you have sufficient effect hit rate. This is saying you'll get that one stack from her skill plus a stack per dot that they have on their head. Pretty much you can get up to 5 stacks of Arcana with a single use of her skill if they have 4 dots on their head. And her ult has a way for you to do that, which makes Ting Yun incredibly valuable for Black Swan, especially if you're not trying to run her with a Kafka or like multiple dot units. But anyways, let's get back to it. This next one says there's a chance to inflict 1 stack of Arcana when a target enters battle. So free 99, target enters battle, stack of Arcana on their head, again, provided you have sufficient effect hit rate. 120 is the marker you want to try and go for. Every time an enemy target receives dot during a single attack by an ally, there's a chance for the target to be inflicted with 1 stack of Arcana. So your dot characters like Sampo, Gwen, Lucas Skill, any of them, if they do an ability that puts a dot on their head, that's a stack of Arcana for Black Swan. There's a limit to the number of Arcana stacks that can be inflicted on an enemy in a single attack. For that trace. Now, moving on. Increase the damage dealt by this unit by an amount equal to a certain percentage of their effect hit rate. If you watched my last video when I said before you build your Black Swan, I was trying to tell y'all how important it is to build effect hit rate on her because she has dual scaling. The dual scaling is damage bonus. So not only are you trying to land the debuffs with effect hit rate, but building it also increases her damage. That's why effect hit rate is incredibly valuable. But at 120 is where you reach the maximum cap in the dreams, is what I've been told. This is, if you hit 120, you're gonna hit the maximum cap of the damage bonus. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, these are going to be her leveling up materials. You can take a look at that for a bit. Moving on, technique is actually very important. Again, effect hit rate is going to play a very significant role within her technique. It says at the beginning of the next battle, there's a chance to inflict a stack of Arcana on each enemy. All right, there's a chance to inflict Arcana on each enemy, every enemy out there. If Arcana is successfully inflicted on any enemy, this effect hit rate will be repeated on the affected enemies until it fails to inflict Arcana on any of them. And this next part is pretty important. The re-trigger chance of inflicting the Arcana is lowered with each successful Arcana inflicted on the target. So let's give you an example here. Let's say on the first inflicted, because there's a base chance for this to be applied. Let's say that base chance is 200% base chance effect hit rate, which I've never seen that in this game. If it's 200% and it applies it the first time, it will. The next time it tries to apply it, it's going to be, let's say, 125% effect hit rate. Then if it hits that, then it's going to be 50% effect hit rate. I'm throwing out percentages because I can't cover the leaks. Just know it gets cut in half every time she lands the successful Arcana. The next chance to land it gets cut in half. So if you have very high effect hit rate, I'll just sum it up here. If you have like 130 effect hit rate, right? You want to try and get her to land this Arcana as much times as possible. Realistically speaking, you want her to land 3 of these with her technique. 3 stacks of Arcana on the enemy's head before entering battle. And if you want the highest chance at doing that, because your base chance goes down very low on that 3rd try, the higher your effect hit rate, the better at applying that additional stack. Okay, so ideally you want to try to strive for 3 stacks. That's pretty much all I'm getting at. Andre, three stacks. Basic attack. She has one of the most cracked basic attacks for a Nihility character. She deals wind damage to a single target, just like anybody else does, with the chance of inflicting 1 stack of Arcana. That's huge. So just with her basic attack, she can put a stack of Arcana on her. And if the hit target currently has wind shear, bleed, burn, or shock applied to them, each respectively, all right, so each individual die can add another stack of Arcana. Again, so her auto attack, just a basic attack, can put up to 5 stacks of Arcana on an enemy's head. This makes Black Swan a skill point friendly character to be ran in conjunction with a skill point greedy character, just how Greniphin is and Luca. They use their skill, but they don't have to use it every time. They use their skill like one time, and then now, since they have something like this, you can auto attack with them for like the next 2 or 3 times if you want to, and that's nice. So that's worth taking into consideration, which means she has a bit of wiggle room with her team compositions because of that. That's really nice. Usually basic attacks are useless on a lot of DPSs. Talent. This is like a focal point of her build, her talent. It's like the main part, the core. Each enemy target has a certain chance at the start of each turn to be afflicted by a stack of Arcana for every instance of dot sustained. Okay, so this is important because the order in which the Arcana stack is applied and the dots occur should be apply Arcana stack, then dots explode. Because the problem with this is if it's the other way around, well then you're gonna lose some stacks. It'll make sense in a bit. Each enemy target has a certain chance at the start of each turn to be afflicted by a stack of Arcana for every instance of dot sustained. So you should apply the Arcana stacks, this part, and then the dot should take place. You'll see why it's important. When afflicted by Arcana, enemy targets will receive wind dot at the start of each turn. Each stack of Arcana increases the damage multiplier, which is then reset to stack 1. That's one reason why it's important. The damage multiplier of her dot increases with each Arcana stack. So if the Arcana stacks get applied before the dots take place, the multiplier will be higher. Furthermore, once they take the dot damage, the stacks reset down to 1. So it's very important that I interpret this the correct way, but I'm pretty sure you're gonna get those Arcana stacks added on to the overall stacks before the dot takes place. Hopefully that makes sense. At the beginning of an enemy's turn, when Arcana causes damage, Black Swan will trigger additional effects that can be stacked based on the number of Arcana stacks they have on their head. Over 3 stacks, so that means they have at least 3 Arcana stacks on their head, which there's no way they shouldn't have that on their head. Unless you just don't know what the hell you're doing. You can accidentally get 3 stacks on somebody's head. If they have 3 stacks, she's gonna inflict wind dot to adjacent enemies to the left and right, and she has a chance of inflicting 1 stack of Arcana to those targets as well. This is in addition to already dealing the dot damage she's doing. If they have over 7 stacks on their head, this dot inflicted will ignore their defense, a percentage of their defense. And this is one of the most cracked things about her kit, because not only does her talent ignore defense so long as you meet the 7 stack condition. 7 stacks is easy to do, but if you meet that condition, this ignores defense, and then her skill also ignores defense. And then her light cone, which we will cover next, also ignores defense. So it's just like she's the most disgusting character in the game when it comes to ignoring defense as a DPS. It's ridiculous. You don't even need a Pella or a Silverwolf for this woman to just completely obliterate the enemy's defense. If you have like E1 Ron May paired next to her, yeah, those 2 alone can, I shit you not, achieve 100% defensive shred, which is like stripping the enemy naked. Doesn't matter what kind of gear they got on, might as well just take it all off. But let's go to the skill, which is also very important. Deals wind damage to a single target enemy in any adjacent targets. At the same time, there's a chance of inflicting 1 stack of Arcana on that target and the adjacent target. So she can inflict the stack on all 3 people that she hits. And there's a chance of reducing the defense of the target enemy and the adjacent targets. So this woman has a adjacent AoE for defense shred, and the amount of turns it lasts is actually kind of cracked. But basically that's another synergy and some more wiggle room for her to maybe explore team compositions outside of dot comps, because she can deal damage herself. She can defensive shred And like basically she can be a secondary DPS and a bit of a Harmony or Nihility support unit, right? Well, not Harmony, Nihility. Like defensive shred to AoE like multiple enemies, that's massive for a lot of team compositions, dude. So Black Swan has some strong potential here with team compositions. I really like that. Moving on, her ultimate applies Epiphany on all enemies for a certain number of turns. Enemies affected by Epiphany, they take more damage in their turn. Now this is a weird one because when their turn pops up, I don't think you can use somebody's ult to take advantage of that increase in damage they're going to take. I'm not sure. This is one of the things I'll have to test. But what I do know for a fact is that dots will definitely have an increase in their damage thanks to this Epiphany buff. I just don't think you can like time a ult to deal damage during the enemy's turn. I think it's impossible for that to happen simultaneously, essentially. Who knows? We'll find out about that eventually. And their Arcana effect. Okay, let's just start over. Applies Epiphany on all enemies for a certain number of turns. Enemies affected by Epiphany takes more damage in their turn. And their Arcana effect is regarded as wind shear, bleed, burn, and shock effects. So now the Arcana stacks that's on the enemy's head, if you pop Black Swan's ult, it becomes all 4 dots. Now, they're not gonna take wind, bleed, burn, and shock damage. That's not what that's saying. What it's saying though, is that they, in a literal sense, have these dots. No, I guess it's not even a literal sense. In a figuratively speaking sense, they have these dots on their head, which means all the conditions, the preconditions to apply buffs, they will be applied thanks to this ult. That's so weird to explain. But basically, like the defensive set that says when you have 3 dots on an enemy's head, ignore 6% of their defense stacking up to 3 times. This will enable you to achieve those 3 stacks, as I understand it. If you have a skill that says give an Arcana stack for each dot on the enemy's head, this will give you all of those stacks because that's what her ult does. There's no way that it doesn't work that way because she would be a garbage character if it didn't work that way. So I know it does. 99.9% positive it works that way, but we'll wait for her to release to confirm those deeds. Anyways, continuing on, the Arcana stacks are not going to reset. This non-reset effect can be triggered up to 1 time in Epiphany's duration, which is crazy. So if however many stacks you have on their head, they continue to stack for just 1 turn. So that next turn, they're really going to take a hell of an explosion. This, guys, is crazy. Let's go ahead and finish this though. And its charges are replenished when Epiphany is applied again. Deals wind damage to all targets. Okay, so this is an AoE, so it does an AoE of wind damage to all targets. And it applies Epiphany. Epiphany makes them take more damage, and then they also turn your Arcana stacks into wind shear, bleed, burn, and shock. This is a lot, right? But what y'all need to understand is that going into battle with her ult up is so damn important for her to really pop off. That's why I think Ting Yun is unequivocally the best in slot support for Black Swan. I genuinely think like running her with Ting Yun, and people keep saying Kafka, you run her with Ting Yun, bro, it's got to be GG's because it's like she goes into battle with all of these buffs activated. Now, I'm not saying Kafka's not good with her. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is people keep talking about Kafka when they need to be talking about you running her with Ting Yun. Ting Yun really gonna make this bitch pop off. And Ting Yun makes her not depend on Kafka. She don't even need a Kafka with a Ting Yun on the team. You can run them, but you don't need her. You can run any dot character on that team apart from Kafka. And that's the confusion with the internet. They like try to push another 5-star limited character and try to say she can't function without her. That's not true at all. I will always be that guy who's saying everything that probably a lot of other people ain't said. I'm telling you, she does not need Kafka. However, Kafka is an option. Will she potentially be meta with Kafka? Would that potentially be like her best meta team? Probably not. We'll see what happens. What I can say is I can see some hyper buff potential with her. I can see potential outside of Kafka with her. There's a lot of opportunities to explore. I look forward to testing it out. But that's everything with my analysis on her on paper kit. Now let's talk about her light cone just real briefly. It's 1058, 582, 463. These are all the same exact stats as all the other limited light cones, like Kafka's signature light cone, Welt signature light cone. It has the same exact stats as those light cones. Nothing's different about it. So stat department, pretty standard in comparison to its peers. but the light cone ability it's incredible. But I told y'all, she's the kind of character that actually has a lot of budget friendly and free to play friendly options as a light cone. So you don't need this light cone by any means, but if you get it, that defensive shred it has is nuts. Like, dude, 7.2 defensive shred times 4 is 28.8. It's pretty much a 29% defensive shred on top of the defensive shred that she already has in her kit. And then again, if you have like other people, like, dude, it's just like, oh, she obliterates their defense. So this is a strong option, but I shit you not, Sampo's light cone is more than enough for her to pop off. She does not need this. You really just want the 40% effect hit rate and the increase in dot damage, which is why I like Sampo. But this, obviously being a signature light cone, of course it's a strong option. What I will say, and I'll be completely honest with y'all about this, it might be worth picking up her light cone just because of the light cones underneath it. The Luca Nihility light cone that shreds defense and Dance Dance Dance, like I said, they're some of the greatest light cones in the game, if not the greatest light cones in the game, for 4-star. Actually, fuck no, not even just 4-star, just period. They're just that valuable. So getting them to like S5 or getting as many copies as you can is just so worth it. That like picking up her light cone on top of that is just nice. I think I'm probably going to do that because I want to top off my Dance 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 and the Luca light cone. Neither one of them for me are S5 light cones. So yeah, this is a great option for her. Do you need it? No, but that Bangrass light cone banner incentivizes me to want to pull on her stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. This is the most valuable thing. Oh, I didn't even go over it. When the wearer deals damage to an enemy inflicted with dots, they'll gain a stack of profit. It stacks up to 4 times. Essentially, man, if you pop her ult, you can get this in one single auto attack. Another incentive to run Ting Yun, right? Pop Ting Yun ult on her ult comes up, she pops her ult, and then as soon as she goes, full-blown activation on the buff, which is nuts. So yeah, man, this is a great light cone for her, obviously, but I would like to stress that you don't need it by any stretch of the imagination. That's all my thoughts on Black Swan. I look forward to a release and testing her. Y'all take care, and I'll catch you on the flip side.